Welcome to the Ancient Mother Podcast. This is a space for the thresholds, the births, the deaths, and the transformations between them. I'm Rachel Pinkerton, initiated high priestess, soul midwife, and your guide through all of life's rites of passage. I'm also an international best-selling author, and today I'm so excited to have one of my co-authors with me, Carina Jackson. She is a co-author with me in this amazing book, The Modern Day High Priestess. And Carina Jackson is currently the Chief Operations Officer for Mariners Inn, a human services organization that has provided services to men and their families in Detroit for 100 years. Carina recently began sharing her story of overcoming physical and mental barriers while maintaining a life of rest and wellness. Carina is a certified wellness coach through the National Association of Sports Medicine. She is the founder and CEO of Forward Focus Wellness, with the goal to empower individuals and teams to leave behind stagnant habits and pursue a vision of proactive health. All right, welcome, Carina.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Rachel.
Thank you for coming. I've loved getting to know you so much. I just love your energy and how you have taken such challenges in your life and transmuted them into health and being able to support other people. So I would love to get started by asking how you got involved in the book project that we're in.
Absolutely. So Brenda Williams, who's also one of the authors, and I have been doing a lot of work together in the wellness sphere. Brenda does a lot of unnetworking events, so I've either facilitated workshops or opened up or MC workshops. And in the process of, and I've known Brenda before I went through my health scare. She introduced me to Melissa, who is the great editor of this project. And I think Melissa and I, which is probably true for everybody a part of this project, we talked for like 3 hours. I called her on my way to work, and then I parked, and then we kept talking. And I think one great thing that Melissa did was realizing, and I think I said this to you earlier, this is like divine intervention. There's no way I would have met you ever in life. But she knew enough about all of our different stories that it will fit well into the subject matter, which is the modern day high priestess. So I'm super excited that we are an international bestseller and that people all over the world will be able to hear all of our stories.
Yeah, I love it. And I agree. Melissa is just incredible at connecting with so many diverse people herself, but then also connecting people to each other.
Yes.
And so it's been so amazing in that way. So I thought that your chapter in the book was really unique because of the background that it discusses. It's called Deprogramming Big Mama. So first off, can you describe Big Mama?
Yes, absolutely. And most times it's within an African American family, but it's usually an older woman, grandmother, great grandmother, who serves as the matriarch for the family. So it's the person who puts together family gatherings, gets involved in family disputes, plans activities, trips. Those are all things that usually Big Ma would do. I ended up being the default Big Ma in my family. One, because I'm a control freak. I'm a Virgo, so of course I'm a control freak. I'm the youngest of 15. I'm the only one that doesn't have any kids. But one thing I learned, and I had to kind of work through this, is if you're the youngest of 15, if you aren't loud, nobody hears you, because it's always conversations going on. So I just started taking over stuff because that's who I am. But in the process of doing that, I end up suffering health wise. Now, most times, Big Ma is usually older, has health issues because she doesn't eat well. She has credit issues because she's always bailing somebody out of jail or helping somebody take care of a bill. And she has health issues because she's not taking care of her body. So I had become the equivalent to Big Ma, even though at the time I was under 50 years old. Um, so my deprogramming Big Ma, which is interesting because while I was recovering, I did a lot of journaling. So I had a brain tumor and I ended up having brain surgery. A lot of different things happened with my own body, but in that process of recovery, I journaled a lot. And I always had that topic, deprogramming Big Ma, but I never had written anything in that chapter. Um, and actually, when we had our retreat, I wrote my entire chapter in 3 hours because it was all inside of me, but I needed to get it out. And I had never written a
Wow.
book before, and I just had that title. And when we did our little, I think it was Jessica or Jennifer, I'm not sure, was like, okay, let's all take time. And she played the music, and I literally wrote that entire chapter in 3 hours because it was within me. I needed to let this go. So part of letting deprogramming Big Ma was also me letting go in this chapter, this book.
Beautiful. So I know that you had to deprogram yourself, and I want to dive more into your personal journey. But first, um, you talk about Big Ma as this very cultural and ancestral character. So how does this relate to more of an ancestral, maybe trauma-based kind of heritage that's passed down?
So I am sure that the idea of Big Ma started way back during slavery times. It was an opportunity for someone to be a mother to kids that may not necessarily have been their children. That happened throughout the slave trade. Children were broken up, families were broken up. So somebody served as that mother figure within that plantation. And then that goes on into a family where you may have family members. And most times, a lot of African Americans started out in the South before we moved up north. You set that role of I am the person that will protect. The man may not have been there for a number of reasons. He may have been moved to another plantation. He may have moved up north to go and get a job, and he left a family there. Someone is the person that's taking control and helping take care of that family. Then as years go on and in the 70s and the 80s, you have drugs that get involved. A lot of times grandmothers take on the role of raising their kids' children. My own mother raised my nephew when my sister died. So you have those matriarchs that take on roles within a family because one is necessary and it's tradition. Most times serves as the leader of a family, and a lot of times in the Black community is a Black mother. Black women will take on that role whether the father is present or not present. So that has always been a positive aspect of Black families, but it can also serve as a negative one, but because a lot of times we take on more than we physically and mentally can handle.
Fascinating. That's such a deep and multifaceted history. And in your chapter, I thought it was so interesting because there are a lot of diseases and ailments that are kind of well known to specific demographics. And I don't think I
Yes.
ever connected that that might be because of this Big Ma tradition.
Yes.
Um, so I was wondering if you could please talk us through how your symptoms started to manifest and how your illness progressed and how ultimately you realized it was connected to emotional stressors and giving too much.
Absolutely. And I want to add too, diet plays a huge role in that. And a lot of times the matriarch will eat whatever is left over. That's always been the case.
Mm.
Especially during times when people were enslaved. You ate whatever was left over, but you always made sure your kids ate before you ate. So nutrition plays a huge role in the health of a lot of times what's considered a big mom. You're gonna eat whatever's left over. It may not be the best, or it may be something that is soothing that's not good for you, something sweet. So a lot of Black people struggle with mental illness, with um, health issues like high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer. And a lot of those things are tied into nutrition. So what you eat also. So also, like I don't have enough to do. I'm also studying nutrition so I can be a nutrition coach to understand how nutrition ties
Mm.
into wellness. That's a huge part, especially working with people in
Wow.
recovery. Recovery ties into wellness. You recover better when you eat well, when you sleep well, when you do right by your body. So I started feeling symptoms right before COVID. So, we nobody knew what COVID was doing to our bodies. Everybody was kind of like, we were all afraid we were going to die. I never forget that first week We were all home like, what is going on? We couldn't go anywhere. You didn't know if you can go to the grocery store. If you went to the grocery store, you washed all your groceries before you brought them in the house. It's just all kind of crazy stuff. So I you think back like, man, we did all of that. Yeah, we did all of that. So I remember walking my dog and I just fell to the ground like somebody had pushed me. And I was like, that was weird. But again, I'm like, was it COVID? And this is like 2020. So maybe April, May. So it was early on in COVID. So another part of my story is that my mother ended up being diagnosed with Alzheimer's in March 2020. So right before COVID started, she was diagnosed. Again, we don't know, can we be around her? You know, it's so many different things we didn't know. So my sister had kind of taken on, I'll be the person that physically checks in with her and the rest of us would just call. So 2 years passed, just about 2 years, and we decided as a family that somebody to move in with her because her symptoms were getting worse. But also my symptoms were getting worse, but I wasn't telling anybody. I'm figuring it's stress, you know. I'm dizzy, I'm throwing up, I'm having like 5 headaches a day. I literally
Wow.
had headache medication at work, in my car, in the bathroom. And I remember seeing a commercial for migraines. And it said, you have 4 to 5 headaches a month. And I'm like, I have that many a day. Still, it's not making sense to me that something's wrong. But I have convinced myself that I'm dealing with a lot of stress. I was a caregiver for my mom, still working full time. I'm still playing the role of Big Ma. So our family, I have 6 siblings that are still alive. We would have monthly meetings to discuss our mom's health, her finances, all of that. So um I can feel myself getting sick, but I don't have time to go to the doctor because I have stuff to do. And again, it's that mindset that if I don't do it, nobody can. So I have an executive role at work. So if I don't come to work, who's going to do my job? Like, who's going to make sure everything is done properly? Again, that control, that type A personality that if
Mhm.
I can't do it, nobody can do it. So I remember being in in the office and I fainted at work and my CEO was like, go home, do not come back until you go to the doctor. And I was like, I probably got vertigo. So of course I'm going through and I'm doing these WebMD. I'm trying to self-diagnose because I do not have time to go to the doctor. I've never been sick. I've never been in the hospital. I might have had a cold. I caught COVID twice, but it still didn't take me down. So I'm thinking I probably have vertigo. So I started going to a chiropractor. And the chiropractor was like, you have good insurance. So they saw me 3 days a week. I was getting my neck cracked 3 days a week at the chiropractor.
Wow.
Yes. So a chiropractor does not see what an MRI sees. So a chiropractor does an x-ray. Oh, your spine has curves. We're going to make sure you're good. And I had convinced myself I'm doing better. Still sick, throwing up, massive headaches, dizzy. I like when I'm walking, I have to walk with hold on to something because I'm going to fall. Went to see my doctor and she was like, stop going to the chiropractor. That's not the issue. So she gave me a referral to see a neurologist. But neurologists also see people who have Alzheimer's. And if you have a referral, it took me 2 weeks to get an appointment, even though I called from the hospital, from the doctor office. Um, I went in to get an MRI. I had never met this doctor. She said, walk down the hallway. I almost fell just walking down the hallway. She did an MRI and
Uh-oh.
yeah. And she's like, you have a brain tumor and you cannot go home. You need to go to emergency immediately and have the tumor removed because we don't know how long it's been there, how fast it's growing, nothing. And I remember thinking, I can't call anybody. Who am I going to call? Nothing matters at this point. Whatever work wasn't done wasn't going to get done. Um, like you start to think about everything that was important is not important when you had to realize you could possibly die. So within that time frame, I went to the hospital. I had brain surgery 5 days later. Within that time frame, the tumor had grown 4 centimeters. And the doctor asked me, he said, show me a picture of you from 3 years ago. And like I literally was not looking the same. My face was starting to fall. Um, and
Wow.
again, my family had figured something was wrong. Over this almost a year that I went through dizzy headaches, almost an entire year that I had convinced myself, oh, it's nothing wrong with me. I got vertigo. I had convinced myself I had vertigo. And some people legitimately have vertigo. I did not have vertigo. I had a brain tumor. Um, but I got to that point, and then I had to have 2 more surgeries before I finally said, okay, Carina, you have to let this go. This is beyond anything that you thought you would go through. Um, I ended up having a shunt installed in front of my head because my head the fluids were not flowing the way they should naturally. And at that point I realized, okay, if I don't take the time that I need to heal, because again, type A, I'm trying to hurry up and get back to work. I got stuff to do. You know, none of that mattered when it was to a point that I could not operate on my own. I couldn't drive. I couldn't turn my neck. Like, you don't think about how serious that is when you literally can't drive a car because you can't do this.
Mhm.
I guess because of the type of person I am, I had to be broken all the way down to start being built back up.
So many of us are like that, aren't we?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
I know
Absolutely.
I had to do that.
Yes. Absolutely.
So you had to go from go, 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 always there for other people, to bed rest, having to stop, focus on your healing. What was that like for you emotionally?
The first time around when I had the brain surgery, I had convinced myself, oh, I'm going back to work. So I was trying to rush my recovery. Let me pivot. I have a lot of stories I could tell that are really funny, but while I was before I got surgery, I got diagnosed with COVID. Somebody had COVID actually, the lady in the room with me had COVID. I remember her coughing
Mm.
loud with her mouth open. My brother said, she has COVID and everybody's going to get it. So everybody in my family that visited me had got COVID. I had it also, but because I had the vaccine, they were able to do surgery. And um, I it kept coming up negative, and then after I had my surgery, it came up positive. So I was on quarantine for a week. So the 1 week I was supposed to go through physical
Oh,
therapy
no.
on site, I couldn't. I was quarantined, so nobody could come and see me. So I never went through therapy. So I'm like, when I get home, I'm gonna do therapy. I'm gonna get done. I'm gonna go back to work in a week. Yeah, within 2 weeks, my head was full of fluid, which could cause an infection. So I had to get a lumbar puncture. Um, and after the lumbar puncture, they were like, we have to do something permanent. So at that point, I had to say, forget it. I have to get better. And if I don't rest, if I don't give my brain a rest, my body a rest, I will never recover. I will continue to be in a cycle of recovery because I'm not giving my body what it needs to actually rest. So I had to let it go. I had to allow people to do for me, which is difficult when you're
Mhm.
the person that does for everybody. I literally, my sister moved up here with me for a month. It might have been 2 months. I had a cousin move in with me. Like, I had to just turn my car keys over. I had to say, I can't drive. I gave my car keys to my cousin. I was like, just leave. Don't even have the car here because I will be tempted to drive. And I tried one day and I almost got in an accident. And that was crazy because again, I'm like, no, I just got to go to CVS and pick up something. And my friend cussed me out so bad. She was like, don't you do that. We can come and take you. So part of this process of my recovery was learning how to allow people to do for me. That's a
Mhm.
huge process for somebody who is a control freak and who always, I'm not going to, because control freak sounds bad. I've always done for other people. It was time for me to allow other people to do for me. It was very
Yeah.
difficult. I was able to do it. The book Rest is Resistance. I don't know if you're familiar with that book by Trisha Hersey.
No, I'm
Actually,
not.
Rest is Resistance is a book about resting. She considers herself the nap ministry. She considers herself the nap minister. And I read that book like 2 times. It's very repetitive. And one of the things that she says over and over is, it is a disservice to your ancestors not to rest because they were not allowed to rest. And once I figured that out,
Wow.
it's a
Wow.
disservice to your ancestors not to rest. They were
Wow.
like
That's so
getting
impactful.
It's very impactful, and that allowed me to just say, "Lay it down, rest." I probably slept for about 2 months, literally, and I mean, I would have blackout sessions where I would give somebody my phone. I didn't check social media probably for 6 months, which that's not a bad thing in any way, shape, or form, did not check out social media. Um, but resting was how I recovered, literally allowing my body and my mind to rest, to be able to sleep. So I started creating an environment for rest. So I created a rest room. Like my bedroom does not have a TV in it. Um, I have room darkening blinds. I have certain sheets. Like all those things tied into my recovery. Um, I was very intentional about my rest. And that was the only way I recover. I am a firm believer that if I would not have just let it go and relinquish all control, I would have never recovered. I would not be here with you right now. I would be dead. I'm sure of that.
Wow, that's just that's such a huge, 180 and realization to make. So many people experience health issues, and they never make the connection between the spirit and the body or the emotional state and the body. How did you realize that your illness was connected to your stress or to emotions?
Part of it, I believe, is because I've never been sick. Um, I don't feel like anything like that happens out of the blue. I just don't believe that. And I honestly believe that once I was brought here, that God needed me to do something else with this information. You know, there's two ways you become an expert, either through education or experience. Um, so I had to experience a brain tumor for me to realize how important my health was. And I mean, I'm not gonna say I ate pretty decently. I didn't sleep well. And people don't realize how important rest is, sleep wellness is to your well-being, and your health. But I realized going through, and so let me add another caveat to that. My family was also going through probate court because one of my siblings
Mm.
had been taking money from my mother. So we've been in probate court for almost 5 years now, just trying to close out her estate. So you add that caveat where you had a well functioning family, everybody was doing well, and now there's a fracture in that. So you had the fracture of dealing with family drama, then my own mother's health. That impacted me. Um, there is no way that I really don't think I would have experienced this if it wasn't for the level of stress that I was under. Stress kills people every day. People
Yeah.
don't realize the impact stress has on your physical, your mental, your brain, your body, your health. Um, and I had always been a worrier, always. This process has helped me not worry as much, which is weird because I always felt like I can control. Again, that's a that is an issue to try to always control what happens. Sometimes you got to just let life happen the way it happens and just be prepared. And if we don't know anything else in this chaotic environment that we live in, there are some things that are out of our control.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Here,
I think being willing to release control has been a huge lesson for me too. It's really hard to do that, but it almost seems like it is a absolute prerequisite to women who embrace the priestess path. Like
yes,
you
yes,
can't fully come into your power or be in tune with the divine without being willing to give up control. And so many of us have to go through life-changing events to be able to, I guess, humble ourselves almost enough to
yes,
do that.
yes, yes.
So, after all of these experiences that you had, you started to awaken to your own priestess path. What are some of the events or rememberings that led to that?
So, after r- resting I was off work for 6 months. Again, you would have never told me that I would ever be off a job that long, but that was what my body and mind needed in order to reset. Um, this happened, and this happened right before my 50th birthday. Let me say that. So I spent my 50th birthday recovering from a surgery, from my first surgery, and we had a really bad storm here, so we had no power. So my 50th birthday, I'm in the dark recovering from surgery, and I'm just like, I mean, it can't get any worse than this. Like literally, you are laying in bed, you have no power, and you're just like, okay, I gotta let it go and do what I need to do. And I think at that point, I started to embrace one thing that I embraced through this process that I would have never embraced, and I wish I would have many years ago, was manifestation. And start speaking into existence what I deserve, what I want, and what I want my life to look like.
Mm.
Not try to control what happens, but speak into existence what I want to happen. And as I've done that, my life has um been amazing. In the midst again of all the craziness that's going on around us, I am able to I was able to work on this book, something I would have never did. I've been able to start a business that focuses on what I've always been doing, which is focus on not just organizationally, but as an individual working through the process of wellness, what that looks like. No, I'm not a therapist. And I work with therapists. I have a therapist. I have a really good therapist that's helped me manage the relationships in my life so that they don't overwhelm me, so that they don't stress me. Um, I've also been able to speak to people in a way that they can relate to. Because if I had not gone through this, there's certain things I just wouldn't know. It's one of the 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 most important thing I got out of this process was advocacy. If I didn't have an advocate, my process in the hospital would have been totally different. I am educated, I am informed, I am insured, and I still had an issue in the hospital.
Mhm.
Nonstop. Hospitals are not set up for people of color, poor people, uninsured people, people who English is not their primary language, because you will be
Mhm.
taken through the ringer. You're already dealing with a health issue, and then you add to that, do you have a copay? No, do you have a doctor? If you've never gone to the doctor, I went to my doctor all the time, but I still did not have enough information. But my friends were advocates for
Yeah.
me. My best friend sat in that emergency room and she questioned every doctor that came in that room. Who are you? What do you do? She had a whole conversation with the brain surgeon before my surgery. I didn't even know. She said, you can't do her after lunch because I don't know if you drink during lunch. She said, I don't know anything about you.
Wow.
Yes, she needs to be your first surgery on Monday morning. You need the weekend to break. And I was his first surgery that Monday morning. If she had not spoken up, who knows what would have happened with my brain surgery.
I love that you had somebody there to advocate for you like that. I'm a
Yes.
doula, and
Yes.
so I'm very passionate about medical advocacy, informed
Yes.
consent, and even when you're doing your best, there's so much going against you as a patient sometimes. They wanna,
Yes.
defer to their protocols, defer to what's easiest, leave out little details. Even when you do advocate for yourself, as soon as your doula leaves to go to the bathroom, they'll waltz right in and try to do
Sure
something
will.
else to that patient.
They'll talk to you. Hey, I need to call somebody. Hold on. And I will call my friend, like, I don't know what they're saying. Like, I don't understand. I'm half asleep. I just took medication. It was terrifying to me. So I couldn't imagine having a baby and you have someone there to support you and they wait until that person leaves before they have a conversation with you.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've had mothers who said no Pitocin, and I go to the restroom for a little 10-minute break, and I come back and they're hooking them up to Pitocin, and I have to go through the whole thing again of saying no, unhook this, advocating
Yes.
for something we've already discussed, and I really believe that nobody should be left alone in the
Ever.
hospital ever. Everybody
Ever.
deserves to have an advocate.
Absolutely. I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer. For a while I was a wellness activist because I'm like, do not. Even if you go into the hospital and you have nobody to go with you, have your phone on FaceTime. Have somebody in that room with you that can ask the questions that either you are physically not able to or you're afraid to. A lot of older people are afraid because they figure the doctors are smart. They know
Mhm.
more than I do. No, you know your own body. You should be able to speak up for yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a really important thing to talk about too. So many people are really trained mentally to trust authority in these
Yes.
situations, instead of trusting our bodies and our intuition. So, what advice do you give to people that you work with to be able to do that?
What I begin with early on in my sessions is create two things early on. Create your dream team and create who gets your bag. So your dream team is you don't want to wait until you're at the hospital to start calling people. You need to already have those
Mhm.
people picked out. Like my sister, I love her to death. She lives around the corner from me. She cannot be on my dream team because she was having a whole fit. You know what I'm saying? Like she was flipping out, and my girlfriend was like, "Okay, you can't be on this team, but my sister from out of state could come here and do it. My cousins could do it." So there are certain people you have to understand people's bandwidth. Don't judge them for it. Just know you can't be the person I call. You are not my number one contact on my emergency contacts. You're number three because I need two other people to be called before you're called. That's just a reality. The other thing,
Mhm.
and I talk about this a lot when I do workshops, is what's in your bag. And I talk about this because they told me don't go home, don't get a bag, just go to the hospital. I can't tell you how many times I ordered underwear and had them delivered because I didn't have underwear. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to Target.com at the time I was shopping at Target and I would have them deliver underwear because I didn't have any clothes, you know. Um, if I had a bag, who would I give that bag to? I hadn't thought about that. Luckily, my best friend was the person who took everything. She took my dog, you know, things like that. Who's coming to get your dog and make sure your dog is okay? Who's taking care of your cats?
Mhm. Right.
So you need to have that stuff planned in advance. Don't wait until something happens and you're like, oh, I need to. So I did this workshop and it's called What's in Your Bag? And I asked people to write down what's in their bag. And after we talk about it, it's like, who do you give your bag to? And one lady in the group literally left. She was like, I need to decide who I give my bag to because right now I can't give it to anybody. There's nobody I can give my bag.
Wow.
Yeah. There was
So
the other.
this really makes you So this work really makes people stop and reflect on their life and the
Yes.
types of people that are with them and what changes you need to make long before you're sick.
Long before you're sick. Because what you'll probably realize is you are that person that everybody takes from. So who can you pour in? Who's going to pour into you when you have nothing left to give? Who are those people? And
Mhm.
you may realize you don't have any of those people around you. It's time to start changing the people you have around you. It literally is. And most
Mm.
times it's your family who is taken from you. Um and out of my
Yeah,
dream team, three of the four people are not my blood family, but they're family to me. So you have to
right.
start analyzing it now. You don't want to wait until you're in the ambulance going to the emergency and saying, "Who can I call?" Don't wait until it comes to that.
That's amazing advice. I love that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the business that you've built and what type of work you do with people?
Yes. So ironically, I've always done this work, but I've never taken the time to do what I need to do for myself. I started a nonprofit. I work for a nonprofit. I've had my own consulting business. I've worked in government. Um, and I've always been a person that was really good about organizing. But through this process of recovery for me, I really started focusing more on wellness and recovery. So my full-time job is working for a human services organization and we provide substance abuse treatment and mental health services to families and men that live on site. But what I noticed a lot of my staff are also suffering um through this process. So when COVID started, I think it started to hit more like if people aren't well, they can't do well at their job. So we really started
Mhm.
focusing more on wellness, doing things that were more healthy for the staff as far as meals, workout, movement more so than workout. Um, but I also started noticing a lot of organizations that were losing people was because they weren't doing right by their staff. They weren't focusing on the wellness piece. No matter what the environment is that they work in, if your staff is not well physically or mentally, you will always have turnover. You'll have people that don't want to come to work. You'll have people who don't want to contribute. And what we saw during COVID was because we did things like we paid for childcare, so some of our staff can come into the office. And if that childcare was your mother, we would
Mhm.
pay your mother to take care of your kids because parents were this as a parent, kids were home, they weren't in school. So do you need a tutor so they can help your child? We would have provide meals for staff because food sometimes was an issue. Give people time off when they needed it, not necessarily following a PTO policy to the T. Sometimes people just need a self-care day. They just need to not come to work that day. So once we started focusing
Mhm.
on that, I started realizing these are things that I can share with other organizations. So I started Forward Focus Wellness to really focus on helping organizations build up their teams so their teams are way more effective to do their work. Um, through my own wellness struggle, I realized when I wasn't doing well, I was suffering at work. And if you're in a
Mhm.
leadership position and you're suffering, guess what? Your team is suffering. They don't know how to talk to you. They don't know how to get issues resolved. They are afraid to get work done properly. So if you start out making sure wellness is a priority, wellness and recovery. So not just mental and physical, financial, emotional, environmental, all those things play into you having an employee that will show up every day. Most of our staff have
Yeah.
been there for over 5 years. That's rare nowadays. Most people don't stay anywhere for a long period of time. I have been in my organization for almost 20 years. Um, and it's because of the environment that was set by our CEO, but also the environment that I'm continuing to show to the staff that there are times that you need to take a break. There are times that you need to focus on your well being. Are you having health issues? How is our health insurance? I realized we had a lot of issues with our health insurance because I had to use it. And it was like, no, not when I'm in those meetings. I'm saying, hey, that deductible can't be that high. I make more money than most of our staff, and I had a hard time paying my deductible. How do we as a
Mhm.
company make sure that we have the right health care for our employees? So I've used my own personal experience and my business experience to start helping other companies do what's best for their organization and for their teams.
I love that. I always have so much respect for people who go through something really hard and then use that knowledge and wisdom to turn around and help others so they can either get through it in an easier way or not even have to go through it at all.
Yes.
Um, I think that is so valuable, and I think it is really kind of interesting with what we're talking about is how, once we embrace that wisdom, and step into the kind of priestess authority, we are being of divine service, but it is somehow different from that self-sacrifice style of service that got us, in trouble in the first place. So
Yes.
what advice would you give to people? What is the difference between being of divine service and self-sacrificing?
Oh, um, in a capitalistic society, that's discussed a lot in resist resistance. Um, that need to always go, 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 make more money, um, get more awards. So, I work in an environment where I participated in a lot of different fellowships. And for me, those fellowships were more so about learning, becoming a better leader. But for some people, it's about recognition. Um, and having something that you can put on your bio. The difference is the reasons why you do it and how long it actually lasts. When you do something that is divine, it feels different, it lasts longer, it's more impactful. When you do things that are self serving, they don't last long and they don't have the impact that you actually think they're going to have. I know people who have gotten all kind of great awards and ended up making very bad decisions that has changed the whole trajectory of their lives. And they have to start over. If you are doing things from the aspect of helping others, being of service, they will have a lasting impact in a way that's something where I'm gonna make more money, I'm gonna have a bigger title. those things don't last. Those things literally do not last, and they are taken away easier than something that is received in a divine manner. Absolutely.
And do you also feel like maybe you are more boundaried with what you're willing to do for others?
The the positive side of me being sick was me being able to say no and people not ever question it. Because they know like, oh, Carina had a brain tumor. She probably can't do it. Or certain things that I would have done before, I'm just saying no. And no, and I don't have to have any explanation behind it. And for me, it's not a matter of not showing up. It's showing up for what I want to be a part of. I am way more intentional now than I have ever been. Because again, part of that Big Ma syndrome is people pleasing and making sure everybody is happy. And you kind of standing back and saying, I created all of this. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's having a good
Uh-huh.
time because I created it. That's not how it's supposed to go.
I understand that
Yeah.
maybe too well. I have really loved getting to hear your story more. Are there any last thoughts that you want to share with people listening? What do you want them to learn from your experience?
Um, absolutely listen to your body. We all know when our body is telling us something. You can ignore it if you want to. Well, what does ignoring look like? Does ignoring look like more health issues? Does ignoring look like more financial issues because you didn't address something before it got out of hand? Um, Listen, your body, our brains are so, oh my God, our brains are so amazing. And just think we're gonna use a portion of it. If we had more access to use our brains, what kind of things would we actually do? Um, my brain had been telling me for a long time what I need to do. I just needed to listen. So definitely listen to your body. Um, some people watching this will say, you know what? Your doctor is not a magician. Your doctor is not psychic. So you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with the people around you. You got to be honest with your doctors. And you got to tell people when something is wrong. And I think I discussed this with you before. A lot of times, as a person who is sick or is going through something, you don't want to bother anybody. And the worst thing you
Right.
could do is think you don't need to bother anybody, and then other people are like, "If you woulda just told me, I could have helped you." You'd be surprised how many people might be able to help you that want to help you because you've always helped them.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Yeah. Everybody, I have loved this conversation. It's been such a pleasure having you
Yes.
on this episode. So thank you, Karina. Where can people find you if they want to follow your work?
Yes, I'm on Instagram, even though I hardly ever am on social media because it's very difficult in this environment. But my IG is just Carina Jackson. And my website for my company is forwardfocuswellness.online. And again, if you go to my IG or to my Facebook, you can click on the link and all of my stuff is in Linktree. So also our bestseller book is also for sale on that. I'm super excited. Yes. My goal is to have every one of those authors meet them in person to sign the book. So at some point, Rachel, you and I will get together because I want you to sign my book.
Yes, I would love that. Well, Karina, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you again for coming on and talking to me. And I hope that we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rachel, and for all the great work that you're doing.